evening, everyone. I would like to start by saying thank you. This is something that is much appreciated. You all came tonight and gave this evening to come and learn and explore synergies and find each other. I want to continue by thanking our partners, Konnect, Grove, Startup Nation Central, and Feuer. Thank you for this partnership and supporting this event. We came with this crazy idea that's been actually cooking for the past year. And they were all in with us on the importance of this matter. And we would like to also say thank you to the BDA delegation that is here. We're very happy to have you guys. Welcome to Israel. A lot of them are here for the first time. So this is like a very cool, warm welcome because they just landed 2 hours ago. So for those of you who are here the first time, I don't know if you know EcoMotion. We're a joint venture of an NGO called the Israel Innovation Institute, together with the Israeli government, with the Fuel Choices and Smart Mobility Initiative under the Prime Minister's office, and the Ministry of Economy. We were founded in 2012 with this vision of positioning Israel as a smart transportation center globally, when no one was talking smart mobility yet, but understanding that this industry is going to go through digitalization, like many other industries, like also the industrial industry that we're looking at right now. So with this potential, we understood that Israeli technologies will have what it takes to be in the race and to put Israel on the map. And it actually worked. Today we have over 600 startups and 10,000 community members, and it keeps growing by the day, which is amazing. So EcoMotion does a lot of things, and one of them is meetups. Meetups for us is a tool. Why would you think there is a meetup? Does anyone know? You go to meetups all the time, but why do we do these things? Do you have an idea? Networking, good. Good idea. Knowledge sharing, good. Awareness. So for us, it's exactly these things. We want to create networking. In this case, we're bringing two communities together, the mobility community and the I4 community, to come together and to synergize and to share knowledge. And also for us, in these cases where we don't really know where two worlds match, we're trying to share the knowledge in order to get people's juice brains going and to understand a little bit, maybe to come up with new ideas, or to maybe think if their technology is now relevant to a new field, and to see if maybe they thought their technology is relevant, but maybe today we're going to learn that the business models are not quite there yet. And this is what we're trying to do here today. We're trying to see where are the automotive challenges in this Industry 4.0, which is so broad. And we're trying to understand if there are specific challenges for automotive, or it's just the same challenges as manufacturing a washing machine, or a printer, or maybe even a toy. Is production and optimization of production the same thing for everything? Or there's specific need in our industry? Because if we're looking at creating the vehicles of tomorrow, so are we creating them in a new way of tomorrow? So in order to understand this, we have this really cool agenda lined up. We're going to start by understanding the industry needs, and then trying to understand how do we work? How do startups work with operational sides of the OEMs, of the tier 1s, of the tier 2s, of the manufacturers? Because a lot of times in the EcoMotion community, we're speaking to the innovation managers and to those doing R&D, but this, for the first time, we're going to be speaking to people who are actually giving us the operational needs. I would like to welcome Daniel Zuckel from the Fuel Choices and Smart Mobility Initiative to say a few words. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the show. I'm here as you are today.
So hello, everyone. I'll be very quick. The Fuel Choices and Smart Mobility Initiative was funded 9 years ago under the Israeli Prime Minister's office in order to make Israel as a catalyst for the reduction of using crude oil in transportation. We thought that we're going to make that by using two means. First, fuel alternatives, so using alternative fuels. Second, by using smart mobility, making transportation in less energy. I'm happy to say 9 years later that Israel is a world leader in those technologies, with, as Orlie said, hundreds of startups and $5 billion in investments and $17 billion in acquisitions. We are in the government. We are not staying quietly. You know, we see the success, but we think what we need else. What is the next step in order to bring cleaner and more efficient transportation into the world? Of course, we can't do it without you. We have many tools in order to support the innovation, in order to support the industry, but we can't do it without you, the entrepreneurs and the industry. So I would like to welcome you to this event and to tell that we are continuously open to hear your ideas, to find out what is missing in the Israeli regulation in order to make life here on Earth better. I have a personal message from Dr. Anat Bornstein, the Director of the Fuel Choices Initiative, to the VDA delegation. She said, tell them, Bruchim Habayim to Israel, welcome to Israel, and I hope you'll have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Up next, I will show you. Okay. Up next, we have Yariv Lotan, Head of Strategic Sector Development from Startup Nation Central, that will give us a quick overview about the connection between Industry 4.0 and the automotive sector. Yariv?
Okay, so everybody knows, uses the Startup Nation Finder, but I guess that it covers basically all the ecosystem from investors, companies, to multinationals. So if you know the organization behind it, Startup Nation Central, inspired by the book Startup Nation, is actually not only running the Finder and updating it, producing reports and maps about the ecosystem, but also hosts about 80 delegations of senior executives from multinationals from global 2,000 companies. This organization is not only not for profit, but also not for revenue. So don't charge anything from anything. Sorry. Sorry, get that? I always said that I don't need a mic. Obviously, I better shit wrong. Okay. So, should I repeat? Go back? No. But really few people really know that Startup Nation also focuses on developing an innovation valley in specific sectors. Sectors we feel represent a huge market opportunity and that Israel can be a world leader in. And still there is a gap there to help bring this innovation valley, this valley where all the leading multinationals and investors and other influencers like consulting companies and others really work together to create this unique hub as the same way that the Israeli cyber nation is. So we basically focus on dealing with global exposure of the sector. Together with Grove and Deloitte Consulting US, we took the I4 Innovation conferences, and next year is going to be the first global Industry 4 Global Innovation Week, bringing together multinationals and investors from all around and companies that are interested in exploring the opportunities. Part of what we do is actually building programs and with those multinationals, helping them to engage effectively with Industry 4.0 companies. And also, we are continuing issuing reports and maps covering the sector, the needs, the challenges. Yuval is our lead analyst, is here in the audience, and you can find him afterwards. We also initiated the I4 community, a community that is focused both online and offline on connecting startups between themselves and with multinationals. And why should you care about Industry 4.0? So I think that first of all, it presents a huge market opportunity. This year, it's expected to reach over 100 billion in revenues worldwide. First year that the US is going to be surpassed by Europe and Asia together. And we see the same growing growth going forward in the next 5 years. Also, in the map of the last 5 years, in equity investments, you see in blue the global equity investments industry 4.0, and you see in red the Israeli side will represent 5% of global equity investment industry 4.0, and it's actually putting us to be the third country after the US and China in the amount of VC capital going into industry 4.0 for a sector that is experiencing difficulties these days in raising more capital. I think industry 4.0 represents something that is going to grow and grow in the next few years. Now, this has not escaped several automotive companies, automotive startups, like Caramba, who introduced some use cases in Industry 4.0 in the edge computing. Vocalzoom moved from an automotive solution into Industry 4.0 solution, and others as well. Tria and UVI that's here. Also, we see companies that are in the I4 and are focusing on the automotive vertical. Companies like Sibo, XJet, Optimal Plus, NanoScent. Two of them are outside. We're outside now. And also other multi-sector companies like Feuer and Newside Imaging and others. Altogether, we find about 50 companies that are focusing both on Industry 4 as well as on automotive, and we believe that this number is going to grow in the next few years, and we welcome any of you that find relevant use cases in Industry 4.0. Finally, I would like to just sort of tease prior to the next panel, and that is we sent a questionnaire, a survey, a global I4 challenges survey, to the delegation from Germany, and we asked them what are the challenges you are most interested in, and what you see here is basically the results. Predictive maintenance keeps its top position, as well as energy saving and other supply chain and process automation, but I will leave the panel to discuss. Hope to see you all in February 24 to 27 in the I4 week, and get to talk to you afterwards.
Thank you. It was really interesting. So you all with your phones. In the upcoming panel, as you said, we will find out the industry's needs and what technologies they are willing to pay for. So please welcome our moderator, Lotan Levkowitz, partner at Orlie Ventures stage, and together with him, Dr. Matthias Hüttenrauch from Nedschroef, Matthias Grossmann from Formel D Group, Bernd Stephan from SKF, and Feuer from Siemens. Come on. So we'll know who you are.
Okay. So thanks again, everyone.
I'm sorry.
No?
You need to sit by your.
Oh, sorry.
After.
So it's a very confusing domain or area. In order to confuse you a bit more, we have two Matthias on the panel today. As long as you know who you are, it's okay. So let's do a very So in order to make the panel more interesting, after each question we change places, okay? So first, let's do a quick round of introduction. Let's do it very, very quick. Give us your name, your company, what you're doing. Let's take it from there.
Hi, good evening. It's Feuer. I'm here in Israel. I run the Siemens manufacturing business unit for Siemens PLM. It's a global company, belongs to Siemens.
Bernd Stephan, I'm running Automotive and Aerospace for the SKF Group. I am normally located in Sweden. If here is even a German company named, it's AB SKF, and I'm quite interested to see what we are talking about here.
We all know.
Hello, I'm Matthias Grossmann. I'm working for Formel D. I run the strategy and the digitalization department there. We are 12,000 people in the quality services arena supporting the automotive industry.
Hi, my name is Matthias Hüttenrauch. I worked all my life in automotive as well. And I was until September the CEO and chair of Nedschroef. I'm advising the board now, and we did also first acts in a global group around the world, and some first experience with digitalization, did some first projects, so I'm also very excited about this trip here.
Great, okay. So I think that today we are talking to a more, I would say, new community that has not been discussed about industry 4 till now. The more entrepreneurs that have been interested or fascinated by the new innovation around automotive, connected cars, electric vehicles, autonomous driving, but let's try to talk and see how these revolutions actually affect or give new opportunities in the production side of the business. So maybe each one of you can speak in his turn and just give us a bit of your insight, how this world is changing in these areas.
So, Industry 4.0 for us is actually digitalization. It's to digitalize, streamline the processes within the companies we work for, which are the big automotive OEMs and the T1 suppliers. In this sense, we are trying to help them become more efficient and more effective, reduce cost, improve quality, increase throughput, make things work better, smoother. We're taking into account that the baby boomers generation is going to be out, and companies today in Europe are struggling to get new people on board. So we also need to make it very appealing. That's a call for all of you to come up with new ideas on how we can do things in a more automated, in a more professional, easy to use, streamlined, fit to the digital age, which most of you are part of.
Great. And?
I think if I see it from the SKF view, we are a 112-year-old company, and we have a lot of brownfield also, not only green fields. And we are working hard to automize for sure everything. Why are we doing it? We want to get the most efficient processes where we have the highest value added and no waste in it. So therefore, whatever technology we can find to make our production more efficient, we will take it. We have at the moment, even with the colleagues from Siemens, a very interesting project, end-to-end digitalization of our racing production. It's a quite interesting journey what we are doing there. What we have done, we have eliminated all paper in the factories. We are digital there, but we have not for sure all the processes digitalized. So that is what we are doing at the moment, and go from end to end, starting with a digital twin into the field performance. Everything is in there.
Matthias 1, can you be Matthias 1 for now? Matthias 1, Matthias 2? No? Can you be Matthias 1 for now?
Well, we look for it from the quality management perspective, right, into the production. We see that, with all the changes that are happening, with the products being changed from ICE motors to electric motors, people that struggle to adjust their processes, and we come in and help them reorganize the quality process, right, and the validation process. And so there's also new technology needed to test the systems.
Yeah, I would also agree. I think with more electric cars, with more autonomous driving, which is by far the major change. It's like 100 years ago when we moved from the horses to the cars. The rules are changing even in production, as you mentioned, and I think we are seeing the same, that it's more software content in the production. It needs to be tested, needs to be validated. The processes have to be shortened. So we digitalized already certain tool know-how, certain tool designs in it, and standardization is, from my point of view, a big point. Before you digitalize something, you need to standardize. So in other words, make it provocative. If you digitalize a shitty process, you get a shitty digital process. So that's really what's a lot of pre-work has to be done before you can make it meaningful, because in the end, you want a better company. That's what it is for.
Great. So I think that people think about production sites of automotive, we think everything is automatic, robotics, all the data is there, everything is just ready. And based on my experience, it's not always the case. It means like sometimes the production is almost as old as the age of these companies. And therefore I think there's opportunities for startups. But as this industry was moving in its own pace, not the racing sports space, and startups actually have the problem that they're dying very, very fast if they're not having customers. So we need, I think, to find a way to coordinate the two timelines. How can a startup today sell to your company, or with your company in your case, to a customer in, I would say, a startup time frame? What is the opportunities that you see for innovation in the forthcoming year?
Well, how much time do we have?
All the time in the world.
This is a topic I love. We can talk about it for a long time because I do like to incorporate startups into our business, and we're doing it. I'll give you 2 examples out of many. There's a new field of electrical vehicles, and I think one of the challenges is battery production. Battery production is still an enigma. There are very little number of real mega factories that produce batteries. We have a huge shortage of batteries. If you want to order an Audi e-tron in Germany, it will take you 6 months to 9 months because there's no batteries. So if we can find a way to do batteries in a better way and more effective, we have a winner, because batteries also weight. They add a lot of weight to the car, and we want to reduce weight from the car so they can drive easy, faster, and lighter, and therefore longer range. So this is one area which I believe could be a great opportunity. Another area that could be a fantastic opportunity is around VR and AR. Why is this important? Because we are getting a lot of young people into the factories. As I told you, the old guys are going out for retirement. Wolfsburg is missing 10,000 people starting from 2020. So we need to find ways to accelerate the learning process of people on the job. So AR and VR could be a great opportunity for companies to get in and to do some work in this area. Many more. If you want to hear more, you come and visit me, and I'll spend time with you and tell you.
I think for us it's important. We are global manufacturing, more than 100 factories around the globe. And what we want to do, we want not to go anymore to the lowest labor cost countries. We want to produce local for local, because we are transporting today by far too much around the globe. So therefore it's very clear that we also have to produce competitive in high labor countries. And there we are going with that journey also to the way to autonomous manufacturing. So the ideal state is that we have a dark factory and the machines are producing without any labor in the factory. So that means we have only one shift production with labor, and the rest of the time it's autonomous production. So that is the final target. So every idea you have, how we can manage that will help us a lot.
For us, I think it still comes back to what we said, and using AI and VR effectively, and reducing the setup times for projects. Because when we get caught into check parts in the production, that it still happens. So we wish that in the digital production, we always get good parts in the production, but we don't. And we need to get people up and running very quickly, so that not more bad parts slip into the production. And so we're trying to constantly reduce that time frame, how we can teach either the people or the machine, or best both together.
Okay, I would say if I were in your shoes, I would be very clear about if you give digital knowledge into a process to make the company more efficient, or into a product. I think we have needs for both, on the process side as well as on the product side. The process side, take some of your examples, we see a clear trend in our factories where the robots are there, but they are not networked really intelligent with each other. So the decision of the shift makers, it's the next level we see to connect the complete lines, talking to each other, make decisions on the quality side themselves, KI, all these things. We started our quotation process completely digital now with a company in Vienna, where we can read now drawings digital. This saves us a lot of time. And it's about products, and I would say we have the need for bringing this great German, I would say, mechanical know-how into the digital world, into this transformation. We're not so good in Germany in thinking in communities and networks and bringing that to the next steps, but we're good in a mechanical way, and you might need that as well, because you don't want to be just running in the service sector. In the end, you need a transformation with products again.
I think you just mentioned a very important point. Many of the startups that we see here in Israel, the founders not necessarily come from the domain. They didn't grow up in factories, they don't have the mechanical background, and I think that if we can create this combination of the mechanical and domain expertise together with our whole startup nation strength, that we are the best in the world in everything with technology, I think we can create good things together. How would you recommend an entrepreneur today that looking from the outside about your market, how should they start to find the right challenges? How did they evaluate it? Because, for example, we saw a lot of discussions about predictive maintenance, about full automation. And sometimes startups try to solve Industry 4 needs, and they got to the field and realized that the world is in Industry 2 or Industry 1. So what is the question you would ask the customer in order to make sure that you solve the right problem?
I think, first of all, don't boil the ocean. Industry 4.0 is a very big topic, and you can ask 3 different people, they will have 9 opinions. Start by identifying a real customer problem, either in the domain of product digitalization or process digitalization. Then look around and check how big the problem is in terms of market potential. Don't go after niche markets, because you're not going to be able to sustain the amount of work is the same, and the money that you can see later on is very small. Look for big problems that affect a big audience of people. Look for partners, don't do it yourself. There are some smart people that don't work in your company. I tell it to my people all the time. There are some smart people that don't work in Siemens. And together form a small coalition of companies that can solve one big problem that touches a big market potential. If you do this, and then you find also a collaborative partner from Germany, from another industrial country, you are on the right track.
I think for us, I said it before, the uptime of such a production is key. And we have, if a process is more complex, we are fighting, let's say, a lot with machine downtime. And that is for sure an issue. We need more reliable processes, and therefore with condition monitoring, predictive maintenance is key to come to a process which is really reliable. And we are fighting with that all the time. And if a process is even, let's say, from a tolerance is very tight, it gets even worse, that situation. So therefore there's a lot of room, let's say, to make production machinery reliable and to get the uptime out of the factory.
Yeah, I would add to this that you should look at how easy it is to get the data, because that's, I think, to the wrong world, that it's a lot of difficulty sometimes, and you spend a lot of time getting the data and not fixing the problem. And so if you have an area where you can get data more easily, I think that's definitely the first area that you should take.
Yeah, I see different levels. Again, I see the level at the machinery, at one machine, making remote checks, making it via internet, whatever, in order to overcome distance on a global company. The second level is for me the network within the factory. Means how do I intelligently bring the flow through the factory? How do I connect machines with other kind of devices? And then the last level is how do I connect my factories? If you run a network of factories in a certain region, in order to avoid what Bernd said, to transport so much around the world. That's are the real challenges we have. And this is combined with a need of more individualized products. If you see what happened in the automotive industry the last 10, 15 years, variety became a big issue. We have more and more different individual needs. So the chance that you meet your Volkswagen Golf the second time is almost impossible. And to deal with variety, to bring this into context with digitalization could be also an interesting field.
Great, so let's switch gears a bit. And you talked in very high words about things that are happening in this industry domain. You said efficiency, machinery. Now let's talk about use cases. So Tzvi, let's start with you. You opened about a year ago the Dynamo here. You convinced Siemens, I think you did amazing work by convincing Siemens to open here innovation office. How do you do it and what are you looking for here?
Well, we have 6 or 7 fields of interest. I mentioned AR, VR, advanced robotics, artificial intelligence, big data analytics. Some of these areas, we have very good companies here in Israel. We're trying to connect them into Siemens. To be honest with you, the main challenge is not with you guys. You're great. The challenge is with Siemens. How do I find the innovation ambassadors inside Siemens and bring them to the table? But from time to time we do this, and we have a few companies we have done some very nice work with. We have other companies which are in line to do some good work, and we have some companies we failed. Because obviously there was less of interest. We thought that it's great, but we had less of an interest. So all in all, I think these are the domains that we are looking for partners here in Israel. By the way, we don't take any equity, we're not investing, we're just trying to connect. So it's a pure non-for-profit activity that is intended to support Israeli startups.
For those of you in the audience that didn't go there, talk with them. Bernd, SKF I think did a very unique move. You actually bought an Israeli company in the industrial domain. Can you tell us more about why did you do that?
Yeah, we bought an Israeli startup. It's not long ago. So why are we
percent of those you
yes. Why are we doing it? It is coming from our own gap analysis. So we are not developing everything ourselves. So therefore we are looking where our gaps in our knowledge and what is missing, and then it makes sense to investigate which startups are working on this side and can we close a gap with a startup. And that is how we do it strategically, to check what are our own gaps, where do we put in a startup. And that will be not the last one. We bought also some others. Yeah.
And what is the roadmap you see ahead, 4% so in your company?
Yeah, I think one is the big data analysis, which is a very important thing. They have excellent knowledge on that. And then also the combination of sensor technology with big data analysis. So at the end we want to know, so what is the right action to take on a certain data set, which we have analyzed from manufacturing, from machine. And we're doing that not only for our own manufacturing, we are doing it also as service to our customers.
Great. Matthias, so what is the most interesting use case that you saw or you heard about, like of a small company, let's say startup, actually had some success in the production site? Interesting use case.
Actually, the ones that we look at, so there might be others, plenty of others, but for us, what's interesting is how can we get the knowledge that is in the minds of the people, out into a database and make it available for future use. So, for instance, if we look at work instructions or things of that nature, and we had this a couple of times already, and there we are working with a couple of AI-driven companies that are giving us the opportunity, to get those information out and make it usable again, and not only in Germany but across the world, and make it also use translation engines too.
Great. Matthias too. So you just landed and you already attacked with all this funnel, but you're going to see many companies in the next few days. What these guys need to show you in order to make you come again to Israel?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I'm particularly, it's my first trip here to Israel, so I'm particularly interested to learn how we can use your knowledge, your young, fresh digital knowledge, to bring it together with this mechanical ideas. We have one company we bought, which is in the high-tech area of material science. We do skin fittings for the A350, we do the halo for the Formula 1, so there's lots of high-tech in this, but we are searching for combining that for the next future also with your digital knowledge to make sure that this has a future. So I think this is a charm to bring that together. And maybe one word to what Bernd said, you need to be careful in one point that you will deal when you get together with companies like ours with a big, long-lasting hierarchical organization. You think in communities and networks, and we think it's still a bit acknowledge just a bit in hierarchies. We're more than 100 years old, and this is the key in the execution in the end, how to connect this together, that not one part thinks you are the spinners of tomorrow and you saying we are the bureaucrats of yesterday or whatever, but this is the real challenge when it comes to the execution. It's at least my experience in the project.
So we have only 4 minutes left, so I'm going to challenge you, okay? Because here in Israel, we improvise all the time, and we have to think fast. So each one of you in his turn have like 40 seconds to invent a company. If you had to start a startup today, Industry 4.0, what would this startup do? Because many people, I think, they almost like fell asleep, so give them something to dream about.
So I would go after autonomous supply chain, digitalization supply chain inside the factory, taking what you are doing for autonomous cars, but putting it inside AGVs.
Good.
I think we need to take all the waste out of our process. Whatever waste we identify, we have to take out. And the technology for it, we want to have.
Yeah, recycling economy. Look at this. It's, I think it's the next best thing. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, both. Okay. This is my idea, okay?
Can you develop one for me then? You know, you keep talking about this, but no, seriously, I am in the production, and we're looking for what I mentioned. How can we bring the knowledge together and develop it further, and get the next level of quality. How can we develop from the past learnings, better process in the future and feed this back into the systems.
You had the longest time to think, by the way, so we expect you for a big idea.
Inside the factory, I would create a key eye around bringing the robotics together in a network, that they work together more flawlessly. Outside the factory, I would try to bring artificial intelligence into our logistics systems. Our logistics systems are still a nightmare. Everybody is focused on the factory, was find the last second, and then you see how we transport air, because we never have full lorries, and so we transport a lot of air within Germany, and it has even increased with all the internet supplies and so on. So if you fix that, how to make our whole logistics more efficient, you do not just something to make money, but also maybe to help the world to be a bit more better for the kids later.
Great. So thank you very much for joining this panel. We have another 30 seconds, then you can clap again. So I think that the most important part from our experience working with startups is about the discussion with the market. So come, I think, after this event is done and talk with them and ask them and listen, because we have the tendency in Israel to talk and not listen. In this domain, I think it's about listening to the customers, what they actually need, because it's not so trivial. And if we have the right listening and if you have the right partners to collaborate with, it's going to be a bit easier. So thank you very much. Again, you can clap for them.
Thank you, Lotan.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you. This was mind-blowing, I'm sure. Okay, good. Thank you guys, all of you. Now that we have a better understanding of the industry challenges, we're gonna get some inspiration for successful collaboration. Please welcome Maayan Ekstein, Project Management and Scouting from Konnect, at Konnect, Volkswagen Group, Innovation Tel Aviv.
So, good evening everyone, to wake up. Yes, so my name is Maayan Ekstein, I'm a Project Manager at Konnect, the Volkswagen Group Innovation Hub here in Tel Aviv. And in the next few minutes that I have, I'll try to share with you our story, how did we manage to connect between the Volkswagen Group to the future of Industry 4 in Israel. We're going to deep dive into the project that we had and then elaborate on the use case that we had with NanoScent. Maybe we'll start with a short introduction about Konnect. For those of you who don't know us, we're an open innovation hub founded by the Volkswagen Group, 100% daughter company of the VW Group. And our mission is to build a bridge between the group brands, our Volkswagen brands, and the Israeli innovation ecosystem. So, up until now, since our launch 1.5 years ago, we managed over 20 successful collaborations with Israeli startups, and we are looking into different domains, starting from autonomous vehicles, of course, in-cabin, electric vehicles, and of course, Industry 4.0. So, building a bridge. What does it mean, building a bridge between the Volkswagen Group and the local Israeli innovation ecosystem? I'm going to take you through the process that we have looking into our Industry 4 project that we ran here in Israel. But before that, a short background to get you understand how we got there. So 1 year ago, we hosted a group of VW Group's executives, high-level managers here in Israel at Konnect, and we took them through what we called a learning journey. We took them to meet several key players in the ecosystem, meeting with startups, VCs, universities, etc., and trying to get them inspired about the local innovation and trying to take those innovation spirit that we have here in the startup nation into our company. This visit was successful because once they came back to Germany, they called us and they said, hey, this was a great trip, we want to do something with Israel. What is something? We were very inspired about your technology, about your spirit, and we want to take those industry innovation into our plants and implement them over there. So this is how the whole story started. They set up an expert team to start working together with us, and yeah, let's start go through it. So at the beginning, as the partners here mentioned before, this Industry 4 is full of topics and we had to focus. So we started looking into the company, what are the main challenges that we have in our production lines, and we started to prioritize them in different criteria, and we defined six focus topics that we want to look into when we come into the Israeli ecosystem. For those topics, specific topics, we put also specific use cases that we wanted to find a solution for. On this stage, we started, back then it was 150 on the map. We started looking on this amount of companies, and we had a lot of work of pre-screening together with the assistance of Growth Ventures and Startup Nation. And we start evaluating them and trying to understand who are the companies that will best match our needs at the moment. We got into the number of 40 companies, which we then take into further discussions, and the result were meeting 25 companies face-to-face here in Israel with those experts, with those production experts together with us. We went it over 3 months in 3 sprints of 1 week, so 1 week in a month. All in all, 25 startups. The next phase, we took it to the next stage with 7 more. We had more second evaluation, joint workshops, follow-ups, whatever, to better define and understand the need and the solution that they can offer us. Up until now, we can say that we agreed on 3 POCs, and it's still more to come. And yeah, and one of them we're gonna deep dive in a minute. And I want to take you, because you asked before what are the main challenges in this whole conference. This whole meetup is about automotive challenges in production. So I think one of a major challenge for VW, and I think for the automotive industry, you all hear it in the news as well, is energy efficiency and CO2 reduction, looking at our planet and trying to keep the planet alive, right? So our specific use case that we chose to take a look into is HVAC system. HVAC, heating, ventilation, and AC systems, those ventilations and other systems that are in the production lines. At VW, almost 50% of our energy consumption is used to activate those systems, which is a major player, as you can probably understand. And in most of the cases, those systems are working non-stop, 24/7, and we need to optimize this process to start using them only when we really need to use it. So this was our use case. Just to get you the feeling, if we will be able to reduce only 1% of those 47% in our factories on each year, we can save 33K ton of CO2 pollution every year. This is where NanoScent came into the picture. NanoScent, together with us, offers a whole solution, a hardware and software solution. Together with NanoScent sensors, we'll be able to detect whether there are bad pollutants, VOC they call them, in the air. What is exactly the air quality inside the production hall? So starting beginning of next year of 2020, we'll start running a pilot together in Wolfsburg in one of the production halls, real working hall, and using their sensors to analyze and to better optimize the usage of those HVAC systems. And by that, we hope to save, we aim a bit higher than 1%, but imagine what we can do if we save only 10 or 20% and more. So, trying to sum it up, because my time is up already, what made it happen and what do I want to share with you guys, corporates and startups, what can you take from this story that I share with you? First of all, I think that every startup knows it, you have to focus. So we took this further, we focused on 6, which is, from a lot of topics, it is some kind of topics, but we defined the exact use case that we want to look at. Second, as I told you at the beginning, we had our top management support, and I'm not talking only budget-wise, but also the support about the Israel innovation and the culture. The fact that they came over to spend here a week meeting with you guys, with the ecosystem, and got inspired and decided by themselves that they want to do something they need to do. This is what pushed it forward. On-site workshops, so as an example with NanoScent, we had a lot of back and forth. They came many times to visit Wolfsburg. We took them into the plant, showed them the exact location, talked with the experts in the field and understand the need and what the solution should look like. And last but not least, and this is I think why we're here for, Konnect, to have a local champion like Siemens said. We're trying to connect between the two worlds, between the corporate and the startup. So we are the bridge, this bridge that I talked about. This is what we did here, and this is our role in the market, and we're looking forward to further collaboration on other domains as well. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Maayan. I think now we're much more optimistic. Now, our next panel, startup, this is for you. So sit up, open your ears. On this last panel, we will learn how to create a successful collaboration. So let's welcome on stage our moderator, Yariv Lotan from Startup Nation Central, if you remember him. And together with him on stage, our amazing partners, Uri Pachter from Feuer Security Technologies, Lotan Levkowitz from Go Ventures, and Hemdat Sagid from Konnect, Volkswagen Group, Innovation Tel Aviv. Now, yes, you know the rules? Great.
I just want to say that the sit up with these chairs is, you cannot not sit up. It's impossible.
So, first of all, let's do a small survey. How many of you are in the automotive mobility technology side looking for Industry 4 use cases or pivoting? By show of hands. Okay, actually less than I thought. How many of you are Industry 4 companies looking into the automotive vertical? The rest are just enjoying the food. Very good. Actually, good answer. Okay, so looking at the automotive index I looked up today, it seems that it has fallen by 33% in the last 18 months. So it's a huge drop, huge pressure on companies, automotive companies, and I'm sure many of you, the startup companies, have felt these ramifications. The questions for the panel is basically, is that a good time for startups to go into I4 in automotive?
Okay. I already talked a lot, I feel. Recycling of finance, recycling economy. So I think that the answer is yes, it's a very good time. Because I think that once your margins are going down, you have to improve yourself. Where do you do it? You reduce your capex, your opex, your expenses. And I think that the best way to do it is with technology. So I think automotive companies that for many years maybe was not inclining to work with small companies out of nowhere in Israel are now do it more and more often. We see like Konnect, for example. And all these companies that I think that now coming to see innovation in this department.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think in the automotive industry, specifically in our group, there's an understanding that the costs of manufacturing cars are very high, and also there's a goal to reduce these costs. And I think the mission is also to invest in innovation, of course, and any innovation that reduces costs, makes our production, our cars more efficient and more basically quality cars. These are the innovations that we're looking for. So predictive maintenance, energy efficiency, I think that's definitely the time, but there's a long way to go there.
I think it's definitely, in general, it's definitely a great time to invest in manufacturing technologies. The question is that the decision has to be taken by the group level, and it has to get the support of the group level. It's not only a question of if it's a good time or not, but rather if it's a strategy of the company from the top management down to the last operator in the plant. So it's really a strategic question, and it doesn't really matter if it's a bad time in regards of sales of vehicles, but rather where do you want to be as a company 5, 6, 7 years down the road.
Okay, and what would be the use cases? I think I discussed it a little bit, but from your point of view, what are the use cases in Industry 4 in your automotive plants that attract more attention?
For us, we have 4 major areas that we're dealing with. The first one is obviously smart and flexible manufacturing. The second one is the augmented operator, replacing the operators with robots, what we call collaborative robots. The third one would be autonomous logistics, and the fourth one would be autonomous inspection.
Okay, so maybe going back to the point of what is the situation of the industry today. I think that in many cases we need to find solutions that actually align in the interest of 3 different groups within the buyer. So we talked about the operators themselves. We have to work with them. If they're not going to like you, then you're not going to implement your solutions. We have to go one level up. The managers, they're actually going to use your solution and going to manage your workforce, and they actually have the budget. And they are very busy people, so we have to convince them as well, and go to the top management. As we said, if we don't align all of them, we can do nothing. You're not gonna take our solutions. And then what is the use cases? It varies from different industry to another. So it's all the area that you covered in your presentation, from predictive maintenance, operation optimization, even see like cybersecurity and things that were not there a few years ago. So all of them I think are relevant.
Yeah, I mean, following the work that Maayan presented, we were very close to the decision makers and to understand what are our real challenges and pain points. So I can mention 3. One was energy efficiency and CO2 reduction, of course. The other one is predictive maintenance. So, I mean, we want to avoid a shutdown of any machine, of course, because that will shut down the whole line. And the third one is basically quality assurance, avoiding any rework or scrap. So, you know, this takes a lot of work and a lot of costs once we have, you know, any problem in the paint shop. And so quality assurance definitely is another use case we're looking into.
I would add one more thing, and that is cybersecurity, which is definitely in Israel, it's a strong feat of Israeli startups. For you who don't know what Feuer does, among other things, we do seats. We're the #1 supplier of seating solutions to the automotive industry, and we had an attack which was done remotely on one of our assembly lines for the seat frames, and the robots did all the pyrotechnics. and all the sounds as if they're doing the welding and nothing, and all the frames came out with no welds. And that could be a very risky and a very costly problem for many of the manufacturing companies.
Okay, so assuming those companies actually want to go into Industry 4 in the automotive, who should they target? OEMs, Tier 1, Tier 2 operators?
Of course, OEMs. No, but I can, I think definitely answer on behalf of, us. We represent Volkswagen Group, and we see the need, we see the interest. I mean, of course, it's much easier when there's an actual representative office, I think, in Israel. And now there's, so many of them in innovation hubs, different models of activities. I meet at least once a week a new multinational that wants to open an innovation hub. So I would say go for the ones that are closest and you can, get their help. And for us, of course, it's easier to get to our contacts, to our brands, and to bridge that gap to the Israeli startups. But I just want to mention that we did work recently with an Israeli startup that wanted to collaborate with us, but then went through Siemens, which is our basically Tier 1, and that basically helped the collaboration work. So we have this kind of model as well.
So the OEM would say OEM, Tier 1 I say Tier 1, so I would say both, or everything. Because I'm sitting in the middle, I have to say it. I think that it doesn't matter if you don't talk with them or with who you're talking, it's about what is the level of discussion. If you actually have the openness, if you really understand their challenges, then you have a good opportunity. Because each one of these domains, it's a niche, but a huge niche. It's each of trillions of dollars. And sometimes the processes themselves can be the same. Quality inspection can be the same for OEM and for Tier 1 and Tier 2. So focus, I think, on what is the challenge you're solving, and then all of the options are going to be okay.
Yeah, I agree with what Lotan said. I think it's not so much a question of who you go to, but rather if you identify the problem that you want to solve for them. I mean, if you know a problem that an OEM has, then go to the OEM. If you know that the Tier 1 is suffering a problem, then go to him. Contrary to the situation where a lot of startups, for example, that manufacture LiDAR system or radar system have to join forces with a Tier 1 to work with an OEM, in this industry or in this sector, you don't necessarily have to align or join a Tier 1 to work with an OEM. But it is good to, and I relate to what the distinguished guest said on the other panel mentioned before, it is good to join forces with a number of companies to bring the whole system rather than a single component to either a Tier 1 or an OEM.
Also, when we talked earlier today, you mentioned you have sort of more of a vision into how OEM and Tier 1 players can cooperate in Israel to benefit the ecosystem and the solutions derived from it.
I think that similar to what Hamlet, which is one of the company initiated, I think that if, in our case, we don't have any competition, we're here to, many of us, to help Israeli startups and companies integrate into the companies that we represent. I think that if we could open up a hub in Israel in one of the Israeli manufacturing companies, such as Englandale, such as Nivrad, such as one of those that are working already in the automotive industry, and apply some of the solutions of the startups and finance those POCs and have POCs locally. Today, for example, if you want to do a POC with Faurecia, you have to go either to France, to Germany, to the United States. Nothing is taking place in Israel. And I believe that the Israeli companies will be much more beneficial for them is to have those POCs run in Israel.
Okay, with that I want to touch on something you mentioned. Many startups look for their customers abroad. Why does it make sense to work with the local innovation hub? What values that are unique to the local representative here that they are missing out?
Yeah, I think, most of the Israeli ecosystem understands the value by now. We have so many representatives here with innovation hubs, and the value is pretty clear, but if I can sort of emphasize it. So first, it's definitely accessibility. We're here, we are on the ground, we're local, we speak the language, we understand the culture, it's easy to reach us. We answer on WhatsApp. And with regard to the culture, I mean, I think we're able to give a very direct feedback also. So we sort of wear two hats. On the one hand, we help our companies, but on the other hand, we also give the feedback, which may not come directly from the colleagues in Germany. So we sort of help them. Basically, we save their time. If it's not going to work, we try to give the right feedback so they look at other direction or a very particular feedback to improve their solution and so on. So it's the localization. The second point is we are, as a Volkswagen Group, we have a great network of a lot of brands which we work with. So we're able to see if a startup can work with one brand or is doing any pilot or POC. We're able to share it with the other brands. So it's a great value for the startups. Recently, we had a startup competition in which we actually funded, or we're going to fund a POC, which is the fact that I very much agree with you, the funding of a POC could be the next step, of course, coming from the Israeli locals. Sometimes there's a problem in budget, speaking about the financial situation in the automotive industry. So my point is, SIBO was also presenting here, won our startup competition, and we're going to fund a pilot POC with our brands. There are several brands, and they're already doing a great collaboration with Skoda, and so we're going to scale it by introducing them to more brands. So that's another value. And other than that, we offer help in all the bureaucracy that our group can sometimes present, whether it's just signing a long NDA, whether it's onboarding to our, supplier systems. So I think it's pretty clear today how much the Israeli, champion brings a lot of value. And we see that when startups sometimes have an issue, they come back to us, and they realize that we're very needed for the success of their collaboration.
Orlie?
Well, there's so many things I want to say about this. I can voice a lot of frustration that I have in the name of Israeli startups, that they have to deal with such huge companies, such as the one that we represent. I myself, I get lost sometimes finding the right champion within my company, so I don't want to think what Israeli startups or companies have to go through until they reach the right champion. So having a local rep or a local person that can connect you or make the efforts and have the connection within the company to connect to the right person is, in my opinion, priceless. And sometimes it's worthless. Sorry. Sometimes it's worthless. But definitely, I think we can many times bridge the gap of culture. For me, working for a French company, it's not easy sometimes to have French cooperate with Israelis. And also, I think that in the end of the day, when you have a person here locally that speaks your language and you can convey to him the heartaches that you are suffering in your mother tongue, it's much easier than if you have to try and communicate that with a person in China, in Japan, or in France.
Okay.
If I can add one point, just also with regard to Industry 4.0, the work we've done, so we established Konnect a year and a half ago, and originally we only thought about focusing on smart mobility, of course. A year or so, I think the hype around Industry 4.0 started with Grove Ventures and Startup Nation Central work, and we started to realize there was something here that is developing, and we need to, voice it out, we need to push it. So what we did is basically we started to push the topic to the agenda of our brands, and this wasn't well known in our group. So that's, I believe, one of the biggest benefits. We noticed something is happening, and we pushed it to the agenda, and that's where we're here today. With around 3 POCs at the moment.
With all the hype that we think that the autotech is around Israel, guys, it's not. There are other places that the autotech is really booming, and we have to, all the time, we have to promote the industry, and it's never over. And I think that a lot of these huge tier ones, OEMs, are not yet familiar with what Israel has to offer. And having a local person that can do that public relations internally in the company is something that we really have to continue pressing all the time.
Can I be the asshole here for a second? I think that these two are amazing shortcuts to working with your companies. I'm going to put now my investor hat for a second, okay? Oh, my daytime job is actually we're an investor. We're a venture capital fund investing in startups, in deep technology. And I think that as entrepreneurs, the most efficient or the best thing you can do with your time is focus on product market fit. How do you do it? You go and talk with customers. These guys can help you, but not every company has them, okay? These are superpowers, and usually other companies don't have them. You need to find a way to connect with them directly. If they're knocking on the door and they're not answering, you're doing something wrong. Because we have maybe 5 of them in Israel. If you have to get them in order to get attention and to get traction, you're gonna have only 5 customers. How big can your company can be? So use them, but find a way also to be independent and talk with the market directly.
Okay. What are the kind of mistakes that you see companies making, approaching and trying to work with large manufacturers? Mistakes you would recommend avoiding?
Oh wow, a lot. Again, let's okay. First, try to avoid.
We're meeting the audience afterwards.
Yeah, no. Sorry for speaking openly, but try not to do a customization for one customer. In many cases, you're going to have to do it, because the buyers usually in this market, they are used to have an integrator or someone that actually tailor-made the solution for them. So you have to get some layer of customization per customer. But be careful not to just do a project, because then it's not going to be scaling and you can't copy it, and then your company situation is going to be amazing a few customers down the road. So try to be general, and then I think this is one tip I can give you, and then try to really understand what's not in the buzzword level, what's actually happening in the ground level. And try not to solve presentation needs, but actually work needs. So go and fly to your customers as often as you can.
So I sometimes see startups that overpromise what they can deliver, and you know, at their pitch, it's great, and then they're invited over to really test their technology, and then you find out the truth. So I would say, you know, really stand for what you can deliver, so that you're not going to fail at, you know, when you have to really improve your technology. If it's too early, then be patient. Then the other point when it comes to working with on the Industry 4.0 is that I think it's a whole different, you know, sort of mindset. When you speak and you meet with the production people, the factory people, they're not, you know, necessarily innovation people. Their you know, KPIs is to, you know, sell more cars, and therefore when it comes to innovation, and it's a whole new world for them. So I would say, yeah, be patient there, understand their needs, and patience is the world, and understand you're speaking with, you know, a different type of people in this case. So.
Yeah, definitely what Khaldad said is very true. Don't promise anything that you can't later deliver. It doesn't reflect well not only on yourself but also on the Israeli ecosystem. Number 2 is try to come with a solution to a problem that exists. And in my case, try to come after you read a bit about Feuer. Because it's not very, you know, we're not going to do progress if you meet with my CEO and he asks you, have you ever heard about us? And you say no. Learn what are our products, what are our solutions. Prepare as much as possible before. Be very patient. The automotive industry as a whole, and industry and manufacturing 4.0 in particular is not always very quick. So you have to be both financially stable and being able to support the different processes that you will have to go and the different ordeals that you will have to endure during this process. And remember that at the end of the day, it's not always, even if you get a negative answer, it doesn't necessarily mean that your solution or product are not good. That it might be just a timing issue. It could be just that it's not relevant for us, but it could be relevant for others. And always don't be afraid to ask, what do you have to do to improve? And if we can put you in touch with companies that could maybe have use for your solutions. Try to get through us to additional clients.
One quick comment. Pay attention to the terminology. We all talk about solutions and products. We don't talk about technology. In this market, you can sell technology. You have to sell the whole solution. If not, it's not going to work. It's not going to scale.
Dan, being the first VC on the I4 prime scene and focused on it for quite a long time, why do you think companies should consider pivoting into I4 and find more with that?
The market is huge, and I think that what we see in the industrial domain is, unlike many other areas that we touch here in the high-tech industry, the number of people that actually come with this kind of background, no data, no AI, no semiconductor, no cloud, no edge, they're not been dealing with this kind of problem in the last few years unless they work with Siemens, for example. It means that you have huge markets when I think most of the attention was not there in the last few years. All the digital disruption was not there. It means that you have a lot of potential customers and huge accounts you can get. So I would say go there before you go to the more crowded areas when you have thousands and thousands of startups trying to solve the same niche problem. So this is the reason we get very excited about it. This is the reason we're doubling down and expanding our network and our exposure to startups working this way.
I'd like to know, how would you describe the areas and solutions you most seek in Industry 4.0?
Well, definitely we're doing a lot of projects with augmented operator, getting those cages out of the assembly areas, and by that you add space. As I said, also replacing the operators, the number of operators, with collaborative robots that will replace the monotonous, sometimes roles that operators will have to take, and we can replace them with robots. Obviously, the whole issue of autonomous inspection and quality control is something that we are really interested in. We started some discussions with Kitov, but because of our mishap, of course, it didn't come through. So these are two of the main areas. I would say that we are looking definitely into cybersecurity. Since we have plants all over the world and we have subsidiaries in Japan, China, you have to find a way to transfer the data that will be understandable to everybody. Connect those plants all over the world to speak one language and to have shared files in a secure way. So there are so many areas that we are just scratching the ground now, but these are the main ones.
Pretty similar, I mentioned before, predictive maintenance, quality assurance. But we're working on the basis of a challenge that we get from our group brands, so we're pretty much open. We try not to think in sort of a closed list. So once we get our experts, our engineers and colleagues define a specific challenge, use case, then we go out to the market and look for that solution.
We're just about time. I think Lotan, it's only right that I ask you, if you would quit your day job, what would you come up with?
Speaking panels. I think that's the next startup, just a panel speaker. By the way, a very low budget, so you can afford me. I think that what we saw today, that a lot of challenges in the data, just structuring the data. So a lot of data is being in the industrial domain for many years, but it's very, very messy. And trying to work with that generates very mediocre results. So I think that startups and people here that understand like data parsing and how to work with different data sources can do a lot. Just to organize and to orchestrate everything, have a lot of value there. So I would start with startup.
Okay.
Just want to, I have a message. I think it's very valuable for the audience here because last March, Volkswagen Group had announced an agreement with Amazon Web Services about developing the Volkswagen Industrial Cloud. So I think that's something I wanted to mention before. And the aim is really to connect and improve the connectivity of all our 122 factories This is going to mean that everyone is going to work on one protocol, and this is good news for partners and suppliers, because that's going to be an open platform that's going to allow startups, of course, to scale and offer the solutions. So this is something that was published last March. It is being developed with big teams from both sides. It's probably the biggest digitalization project of our group. So my message to the startups is work with AWS, and that's going to help you in the future to work with us as well.
Very interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
We couldn't ask for better partners. Thank you very much for this whole mega meetup. So, before we're about to send you home, not home for beer and desserts, but we hope you have taken a lot from this evening. It was very interesting. I have two very important things to say before I let you go. One is that I hope everyone saved the date, because the 8th EcoMotion main event is coming. May 19th, so save the date inside EcoMotion week, 19 till the 21st May. So if you have calendars, or I don't know, just write it down or put in your calendars, because you better be in Israel, also you guys here, okay? And another thing that if you're not registered to our newsletter, so I think you should be, because we might have a little surprise during CES, maybe like a little side event. So stay tuned. So thank you very much. Your next collaboration is waiting outside with desserts and beer. So enjoy, and thank you for coming. Good night.